Have you ever felt disconnected? Like you're watching your life unfold through a pane of glass, observing but not truly living. It's a question that touches us all, in varying degrees. Today, we're going to delve into the often hidden world of mental health, answering your questions, and hopefully, shedding some light on those shadowy corners of the human experience. Let's start with a question from Pink Penguin writes, what does psychotic actually mean? It's a word we hear tossed around, often sensationalized, but the reality is far more nuanced. Psychosis isn't about being crazy or dangerous. It's a break from reality, a shift in perception where experiences diverge from what most people share. Imagine a world where sounds become whispers directed at you, where shadows dance with hidden meanings, where deeply held beliefs remain unshaken, even when confronted with undeniable evidence. That's the essence of it. Auditory hallucinations, hearing voices, are common. Visual hallucinations, while less frequent, can also occur. And then there are delusions, those fixed, false beliefs that feel utterly, irrevocably true. It's crucial to remember this. Psychosis doesn't equate to violence. It's a symptom of an underlying struggle, a desperate plea for understanding. Now Andrea H. Perez asks a question so many of us silently grapple with. How does depression make you exhausted, but then sometimes I'm too sad to even sleep? It's a paradox, isn't it? You're drained, yearning for rest, yet sleep remains elusive. The answer lies in your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm. Depression throws that clock into chaos. Think of it like a finely tuned instrument, suddenly knocked off key. You might find yourself waking up hours before dawn, not because you're rested, but because your brain has already begun its day. 5 a.m. wake-ups without an alarm become the new normal. This isn't simply about feeling tired. It's a fundamental disruption in your neurochemistry. The levels of crucial neurotransmitters, serotonin, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, are depleted, impacting not just mood, but also the very mechanisms that regulate sleep. It's like trying to run a car on an empty tank. Aten Supreme brings up a fascinating point. Is stress contagious? And the answer unequivocally is yes. We often talk about catching colds, but emotional states, particularly stress, can spread just as easily. I remember observing high school students in the Bay Area during college application season. The pressure was palpable, a suffocating atmosphere of anxiety. But it wasn't just the students who were affected. Teachers, counselors, even parents, they started to exhibit similar symptoms. This isn't anecdotal, science backs it up. A study measured cortisol levels, the stress hormone, in an audience listening to an anxious speaker. The results were startling. Cortisol levels increased not only in the speaker, but also in the audience. We're wired for empathy, for connection. And that connection extends to our emotional states. Think of it like ripples in a pond. One disturbance creates a cascade of effects. Say baby wants to know, can depression be hypnotized away? It's a tempting thought, isn't it? A quick fix for a deeply complex problem. While hypnotherapy can be incredibly effective for certain conditions, smoking cessation, managing temper, even some sleep disorders, it's not a magic bullet for depression. Hypnosis can influence our thoughts and behaviors, but it can't fundamentally alter the underlying neurochemical imbalances that contribute to depression. It's about working with the mind, not rewriting its core programming. And not everyone is equally susceptible to hypnosis. There's a spectrum of hypnotizability, often assessed by observing eye movements. A complete lack of white showing when looking upwards indicates low suggestibility, while a near-complete whiteness suggests a higher potential. But even with high suggestibility, hypnosis is most effective when used in conjunction with other therapies. DJ Leap Card asks a common question. What's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, and which one do I need? This is crucial to understand. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor, meaning they've completed medical school and can prescribe medication. A psychologist, on the other hand, typically holds a doctoral degree in psychology, focusing on therapy and assessment. If you're simply feeling overwhelmed and need someone to talk to, a therapist, whether a psychologist or a psychiatrist offering therapy, is a great starting point. But if you suspect medication might be necessary, a psychiatrist is the appropriate professional to consult. Think of it this way. Therapy helps you understand why you're feeling a certain way, while medication can help manage the symptoms. Bell Maps asks a profoundly human question. How do you, as a psychiatrist, not cry? It's a question. That cuts to the core of what it means to be a caregiver. The truth is, sometimes I do. We are, after all, human beings, not stoic automatons. We witness pain, trauma, and suffering on a daily basis. To remain completely detached would be not only impossible, but also unethical. Empathy is essential. It's what allows us to connect with our patients, to understand their struggles, and to offer genuine support. It's a delicate balance, of course, maintaining professional boundaries while still allowing ourselves to feel. But denying our own emotions would be a disservice to both ourselves and our patients. Mets for Nin, NN33, asks a very insightful question. Do personality disorders work on a spectrum? Like, can you have mild narcissism? Absolutely. Personality disorders aren't simply on or off switches. They exist on a continuum. We all exhibit certain personality traits, a degree of self-confidence, a desire for admiration, a tendency towards self-focus. These traits become problematic when they're inflexible, maladaptive, and cause significant distress or impairment. Mild narcissistic traits might manifest as a healthy self-esteem, while more severe forms can escalate into a full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, characterized by a grandiose sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy, and a relentless need for admiration. At the extreme end of the spectrum lies malignant narcissism, often associated with psychopathy, a complete disregard for the rights and feelings of others. It's a progression, not a sudden leap. Resilience Doc brings up a fascinating area of research. How does the brain-gut connection work? For years, we've treated the brain and the gut as separate entities. But emerging science is revealing a profound and intricate connection between the two. Studies initially conducted on animals have shown a clear link between stress, gut microbiota, the trillions of bacteria that reside in our digestive system, and serotonin production. In stressed rodents, researchers observed a decrease in short-chain fatty acids and, consequently, a reduction in serotonin levels in the gut. Now, the serotonin in the gut doesn't directly cross the blood-brain barrier, but the inflammation caused by stress disrupts the vagus nerve, a crucial pathway connecting the gut and the brain. This disruption can contribute to depressive states. The takeaway: a healthy gut microbiome may be essential for maintaining a healthy mood. It's a powerful reminder that our mental well-being isn't solely confined to our brains. Doris Nabat wants a history lesson. When did psychiatry actually start? Formal psychiatry emerged in the 19th century, but the roots go much deeper. Before psychiatrists, there were alienists, physicians dedicated to understanding and treating individuals perceived as alienated from society due to mental health issues. They were pioneers, attempting to make sense of conditions that were often shrouded in mystery and stigma. A pivotal moment came in 1895 with Sigmund Freud's studies in hysteria, often considered the birth of psychoanalysis. Freud's work revolutionized our understanding of the unconscious mind and laid the foundation for many modern psychotherapeutic techniques. Why does no one talk about how depression and anxiety can cause major memory loss? That's a question from an anonymous source, and it's a vital one. Depression isn't just about sadness, it impacts cognitive function. It affects memory. The culprit, in part, is glutamate, an excitatory neurotransmitter crucial for learning and memory formation. When glutamate levels are low, the brain struggles to lay down new memories. Processing speed slows down by as much as 40% in some cases. This can manifest as pseudodementia, a false appearance of cognitive decline that's actually rooted in depression. It's a reminder that mental health and cognitive health are inextricably linked. Maggie Meg 26 asks, do you ever have a random thought that just won't leave your head? Absolutely. We all do. Those unwanted, intrusive thoughts are a universal human experience. When they become persistent, distressing, and interfere with daily life, they can escalate into obsessions. The neural pathways involved are fascinating. The connection between the orbital frontal cortex and the basal ganglia plays a key role. The direct pathway triggers worry, while the inhibitory pathway attempts to shut it down. In obsessive-compulsive disorder, this inhibitory pathway is weakened, allowing the worry cycle to spin out of control. Cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure and response therapy are effective treatments, gradually helping individuals confront their fears and break the cycle. And then comes the question from TikTok-obsessed minds. Why does TikTok keep telling me I have ADHD? A cautionary tale. While social media can be a source of information, it's crucial to approach it with a critical eye. A study of 500 TikTok videos tagged with mental health tips revealed that a staggering 84% contained misleading information. 31% were inaccurate, and 14% were potentially harmful. Only 9% of the creators had relevant qualifications. Our brains are being conditioned for instant gratification, for constant stimulation. This can lead to difficulties with focus and attention, but that doesn't automatically equate to ADHD. It might simply be the result of spending too much time scrolling through short-form videos. Be discerning and rely on credible sources. Mendy asks about the potential of psilocybin mushrooms for treating PTSD, anxiety, and depression. The research is promising, but still in its early stages. Psilocybin, the active compound in magic mushrooms, binds to serotonin receptors in the thalamus, inducing altered states of consciousness. But it's not necessarily the hallucinatory experience that drives the therapeutic effect. A case study involving a man undergoing psilocybin-assisted therapy revealed that even without experiencing a full psychedelic trip, he experienced a 40% reduction in depressive symptoms. The key seems to be the guided treatment, the presence of a supportive facilitator. It underscores the importance of human connection. In healing, Hex bags poses a terrifying question. Am I having a panic attack, a heart attack, or heartburn? A valid concern. Panic attacks are abrupt and intense, characterized by chest tightness, difficulty breathing, sweating, and a feeling of impending doom. They mimic the symptoms of a heart attack, but usually peak within minutes and then subside. Anxiety attacks, on the other hand, build more gradually, often triggered by specific stressors. If you're unsure, seek immediate medical attention to rule out any underlying medical conditions. Tune of your death is experiencing an anxiety attack in class. Help! Grounding techniques can be invaluable. Remind yourself of your surroundings. I'm here, I'm in class, there are people around me. Try the 3-3-3 rule. Identify 3 things you can see, 3 things you can hear, and move 3 parts of your body. Forget the cliché, just breathe. A more effective technique is deep, diaphragmatic breathing. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 3, and exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. The prolonged exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting relaxation. Angel Disrupted asks a fundamental question. What's the difference between serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins? Let's break it down. Endorphins are natural pain relievers, released during exercise or moments of pleasure. That runner's high is fueled by endorphins. Serotonin and dopamine are neurotransmitters. Serotonin regulates mood and anxiety, while dopamine is associated with joy, pleasure, motivation, and attention. Low serotonin levels are linked to depression and anxiety, while low dopamine can contribute to both depression and ADHD. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, is released during social interactions, particularly breastfeeding, fostering feelings of love and connection. Anxiety A Loner asks about fish oil and omega-3 supplements for mental health. Omega-3 fatty acids increase blood flow to the brain, and some people report improvements in mood, concentration, and even ADHD symptoms. A typical dosage is 1 to 2 grams per day, but exceeding 4 grams doesn't seem to offer additional benefits. Be aware, though, that fish oil can cause fish burps. A small price to pay for potential benefits. Writer Trilla wants to know what triggers schizophrenia. It's a complex interplay of genetics and environment. Over 200 genes have been identified as contributing to schizophrenia. Risk. However, genetics aren't destiny. Twin studies show that if one twin develops schizophrenia, the other has a 50% chance of developing it, suggesting environmental factors play a crucial role. These factors could include substance use, trauma, or other stressors. Researchers are still working to unravel the intricate connection between genes, environment, and the development of schizophrenia. Lifting Humanity asks, can depression be beaten or only managed? Absolutely, depression can be beaten. It's not a life sentence. Medications like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, Prozac, Zoloft, Lexapro work by increasing serotonin levels in the brain, promoting the growth of new neural connections. But medication isn't the only answer. Therapy, either alone or in combination with medication, can be equally effective. It's about rebuilding neural pathways and regaining control of your life. Goldas27 shares a fascinating insight about the Disney movie Encanto and generational trauma. She's absolutely right. Encanto beautifully illustrates the concept of transgenerational trauma, the transmission of trauma from one generation to the next. Abuela Alma's loss of her husband profoundly shaped her parenting style, creating a pressure to protect her family from any further pain. Bruno's ostracism stems from his recognition of this dysfunctional dynamic. Talking about trauma, acknowledging it, and breaking the cycle is essential for healing. Latre asks about the genetic component of mental health issues. Some conditions like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, autism, and ADHD have a strong genetic basis. However, genetics are only part of the story. Epigenetics, the study of how environmental factors influence gene expression, plays a crucial role. Genes can be turned on or turned off by factors such as stress, diet, and social environment. So, while you may inherit a predisposition to a mental health condition, whether it manifests depends on a complex interplay of factors. Mental Guru Girl asks about antidepressant use. CDC data from 2015-2018 showed that about 13.2% of the population was taking antidepressants. But that number has likely increased significantly since the pandemic. The American Academy of Pediatrics reported a 64% increase in antidepressant prescriptions for children and teens alone since 2020. Sowers-Kitzlos asks about ketamine therapy. It's a promising treatment for depression, but it's not a recreational drug. It's administered in a controlled clinical setting, either through intravenous infusion or a nasal spray. Ketamine blocks glutamate receptors, leading to a temporary increase in glutamate levels and improved mood. Researchers are exploring ways to prolong the effects of ketamine, such as combining it with the drug rapamycin. Ruby Bagania 3 is curious about tests for psychopathy. Robert Hare developed the psychopathy checklist, a tool used to assess psychopathic traits, including pathological lying, superficial charm, and a lack of empathy. A score of 25 or higher is often considered indicative of psychopathy. The closest formal diagnosis is antisocial personality disorder, but not everyone with antisocial personality disorder is a psychopath. Malik Mars Montino asks, can you catch a personality disorder from someone? Typically, no. Personality disorders aren't contagious. However, certain traits can be learned or mimicked, particularly within families. And in rare cases, shared psychosis, the adoption of another person's delusions can occur, often in close relationships. Real Jawbreaker wants to know how the DSM-5 would classify the feeling that everyone is talking about you. The DSM-5 might classify that as paranoid ideation, a symptom of paranoid personality disorder. The DSM-5 is the diagnostic manual for mental health professionals, but it's not without its critics and has evolved over time. Xtadashi asks, what does the ink blot test even prove? The Rorschach test, developed by Hermann Rorschach, involves interpreting ambiguous ink blots. While it was initially intended to diagnose schizophrenia, its effectiveness for that purpose is limited. It's still used today in psychotherapy as a tool to gain insights into a person's thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, particularly in children. And finally, a powerful question from Lifting Humanity. Can depression be beaten or only managed? It can be beaten. It's not a life sentence. The journey to recovery may be long and challenging, but it's possible to reclaim your life and find lasting peace. Remember, you are not alone. There is hope, and there is help available. If you're struggling, please reach out. Your story matters, and your well-being is worth fighting for.